and welcome to my session about AI in content marketing and SEO-driven content marketing specifically. Super excited to chat about this topic with you today because I think it's very timely. The way I look at it, 2023 was really a wild year. ChatGPT obviously came out, a lot of the writing tools made so much progress. AI content flooded the internet. We were all excited. We were all experimenting, trying new things, trying new workflows. And this conference is very timely because we're obviously in the middle of the March 2024 algorithm update. And we can see Google is tackling what they call spam and low quality content. And so for me, 2024 is really the year for professionalizing and operationalizing our AI usage. And in the presentation today, I want to give you some frameworks and mental models to think about how can I implement AI in my content marketing efforts? How is this going to affect me? What should I be thinking about? And what are the next steps? If you've seen the hype cycle curve before, it's a model that talks about the adoption of technology. And I think it's a beautiful model also for what we've experienced in the last 12 months. First, we had a technology trigger with ChatGPT release in late 2022, early 2023. And that specifically for content marketing was a huge jump ahead in terms of like content production. Yes, there were other writing tools before for a few years. Yes, they were getting better. But then ChatGPT like really took it to the next level. And so for the people who've been using AI writers for the last year or two, they really had a competitive advantage because they were early adopters. They could move super fast. They could produce at a much, much higher scale. And so there was this like peak of expectations and wins and, exploiting that. Right now, I think we're kind of like in a fire that is the algorithm update. And I think there will come a little bit of a valley of disillusion as a result of it, where people are like, should we be using these tools? What are we doing with them? How can we use them? The good thing is, I think we're already thinking about our slope of enlightenment and how can we operationalize this in a good way. Unfortunately, in the hype cycle, it never goes as high back up as it was in the original peak, but we do reach the plateau of productivity, where it's essentially a new normal. I think downstream, it's not realistic to expect people to write everything by hand. Everyone is going to use AI writing tools in one way or another, but it's also the new normal. It's not the same competitive advantage that it was when you published AI content 1.5 or 2 years ago. Now, of course, that's not the end of the hype cycle for AI. That's the hype cycle for AI for content writing. We will see similar triggers and similar hype cycles for AI for images and voiceovers and videos and all the other things that are coming out right now. There's definitely hype and diminishing returns, for example, for using AI for LinkedIn comments. I think where AI LinkedIn comments are also in a valley of disillusion. So just wanted to give that for some context of where we're at. I think we're going to climb out of the valley very soon, and we're going to professionalize and operationalize our AI usage in a meaningful way in 2024. My name is Viola. I run a digital marketing agency called Flow SEO, where we do search marketing for SaaS. We do organic and paid. In 2023, we won 2 search awards, one for B2B SEO and one for best content marketing. And I've also created a course for Kyle's and Annie's Internet Marketing Gold platform about content marketing before, so please check that out as well. I really like this quote from Insight Partners that they say, the fact that AI can curate is an inflection point. We are in the early innings of the next generational shift. And I agree with that. The fact that AI can create is radically transforming our expectations that we have towards content and content experiences. AI and search, ChatGPT radically transforms the way we search, gather, and curate information. And so I think things will never be like they were before, even with the algorithm update now. So AI changes your SEO and content workflows, and I think there's 2 major ways to think about it. Number 1 is AI-powered search and large language models. So for one, we're running into forecasting issues. We're very sure that there will be a reduction in visibility in clicks for the classic blue organic link, they're anyway being pushed below the fold from like ads, featured snippets, sources from the web boxes. But of course, the chatbot answer is even bigger. There's also a high amount of uncertainty because ranking in the top positions now doesn't necessarily mean that you're the top answer in the chatbot answer either. And then lastly, what we've seen with clients, especially those that are startups that have gone through different iterations and rebrands, unfortunately, Google, SGE, and ChatGPT have the bad habit of surfacing old stuff again that's not necessarily aligned with the current branding and offering. On the other hand, AI changes our workflows on the side of content marketing. So on the one hand, as we know, the internet got flooded with AI-generated content. We are in desperate need for originality, probably more than ever before, especially now that Google made that so clear. And at the same time, there's increased expectations on content output and scale and how much we need to get done as writers, content marketers, and SEO. When Google cleans up their search engine like that, keep in mind that this whole topic is also a fight for Google to stay relevant. If Google wants to be the most used search engine, the biggest traffic referrer, etc., and they want to maintain relevant, they need to upkeep with the YouTube, with TikTok, with ChatGPT, Perplexity AI. And so getting rid of a lot of the content as they're doing now is also their attempt to stay relevant as a search engine. So let's talk about ranking in AI-powered search and large language models. So here's kind of like what I mean. Before, on the left side, we see performance management software, and we see this grid of entities there, of software tools there, and we can see Performia, Bamboo HR, Culture M, 15.5 Betterworks. After that, we can see Bamboo HR, Leapsome, Namely, Lattice, Synergetica. So these are not the same ones. Bamboo HR is lucky they're in both. They are both in the top. Leapsome wasn't listed before, is now in the second position. Namely wasn't there before, is now there. Lattice wasn't there before, is now there. So we can see that, like I said, there's a big reshuffle and uncertainty about how you're going to be presented, even if you're ranking well today. And in my mind, this all comes down to entity and entity understanding. We've talked about entity a lot when it comes to Google, but I think we also need to talk about it a lot when we think about large language models. An entity is a uniquely identifiable object or thing characterized by its name, types, attributes, and the relationships to other entities. So what that means, an entity could be people, places, things, events, or organization. And I'm going to show you how that manifests on the web. Here's the entity Rey. Rey is the female lead character of the latest Star Wars movies, and we can understand that we can see that Google understands Rey incredibly well. We see that Google understands, hey, she's a character from Star Wars. Google understands what are the actors that have played her. So that's the relationship between the entities of the two actors and then this character. There's also a relationship to the entities of the movies in which she appears. And then even more in the people also ask, we can see that it's understands kind of like the force that she has. People are curious who is her boyfriend, what's her personality, etc. So Google is very good at connecting all the dots for Rey from Star Wars. Google is also really good at connecting all the dots for MailChimp, the email marketing platform. We can see they have this beautiful knowledge panel. We can see when people search for best email marketing tools, they're right up there in a kind of like tool grid. When people also ask for best email marketing tool, immediately one of the questions is MailChimp the best for email marketing? So we can see that Google really has comprehended these entities very well, knows where to place them, knows what they're known for. This is a little bit different. Think about two kind of like competitor-ish of MailChimp. When we type in ConvertKit, we first see that Google doesn't know which knowledge panel to connect to that. Is it the ConvertKit LLC or ConvertKit, the software company? So that's already a little bit messier and not as clean. We can see that Drip Inc., the software company, and kind of like Drip, kind of like the website have a bit of a disconnect up here. And so that's where we can see is entity understanding that is not quite clear, not quite connected, and not as easily digestible for Google and large language models. So what this comes down to is it matters as much to how you talk about yourself as it matters how others talk about you and link to you, which means it doesn't just matter what's on your website, it also matters how the rest of the web is connected and aligned to what your website is. So here's a kind of like simple example. Think this is a brand's website, a startup website, a personal website. The dark green boxes are all the parts that you can control. You can control your homepage, your product or services pages, your blogs, and how you present yourself there. And you want to have the most alignment there as possible. In kind of like neon, yellow, green profiles that are not directly on your website, but that you own and control. Your YouTube channel, Crunchbase, LinkedIn company profile, your Twitter channel, etc. Make sure that these are aligned and up to date and that they're telling a cohesive story. Kind of similar, orange, directories, listicles, review sites, etc. There you have partial ownership about what's on there. You might not have complete ownership about the actual reviews, but you have ownership typically about your description, your logo, and all these things. And then there's the things that you have less control over, like mentions on a news site, podcast appearances and how they publish that, mentions in listicles, etc. This is when we're often getting into like PR-like territory where you have to build partnerships with these publishers in order to discuss you. The reason why that matters is because the way AI-powered search and large language models returns you is based on a variety of sources. They don't create their results just of one source, your website. They create their results based on all of these profiles and all of this information. So if you want to appear, with a very good answer that is like up to date and reflects you well, you want alignment across the entire web. And I was laughing about this a little bit because this actually kind of reminds me of local SEO. This is why I wrote here NAP is back. So all the local SEOs might know that. NAP is name, address, phone number. And for local SEO for a long time, it has been the game, making sure that these are aligned across, your website, yellow pages, other directories, review sites, and all of this stuff. And a lot of time went into auditing and organizing that. And in a way, kind of my clients that are startups that are not local are doing a lot of this type of like work and cleanup right now to make sure they're presented properly. First and foremost, if you're not using schema markup, use it. If your schema markup is not up to date, update it. At the minimum, you want organization schema. If you're a personal brand or a well-known figure in your company, probably want a kind of like author person schema, depending on what you are on your like individual page. But definitely you want organization schema. If you're a software product, you want software schema on your website, and that's really, really crucial. You want to make sure that all your social profiles are up to date and aligned and are telling a cohesive story. And you also want to update and review and align all the directory sites. And I know it's a lot of work. And then this process, I was looking at our own LinkedIn company page and I noticed we haven't rewritten it in like 2 years. And I was like, oh God, it's really time to rewrite this thing. So it's a lot of work. I recognize that, but really, really crucial for that alignment. The other thing to think about is, I know we're thinking a lot about backlinks as SEO, but when we think about backlinks, we often think about good anchor texts linking to a specific SEO target page. And my encouragement here is you want features, you want mentions, you want quotes. Homepage links are a good thing. You want to be featured in relevant places. You want to make sure if you're MailChimp, whenever there's a listicle about email marketing tools, you want to be on there. If you're Drip or ConvertKit and MailChimp is always there and you're not, that just always strengthens their brand entity, their understanding. So homepage links are totally fine, but you want to make sure that you're part of these conversations and you're the one who's constantly mentioned. And different people have different names for this. Ross Simmons from Foundation calls this brand domination. Alex Birkett, who used to be at HubSpot, calls this the surround sound SEO strategy. But you basically want to make sure that you're not just ranking with your own organic blue link. You want to make sure that you're part of the conversation wherever it happens. Whether that's a G2, Trust Radius, and Capterra for software, whether that's a Listicle, whether that's a Reddit, whatever is on page one that people are talking about your thing, you want to be part of it, even if it's not your own website. So here's a screenshot, kind of like how we think about it. I'm sure for many link builders, this is a very familiar process. Is like you want to figure out like what are the main topics that I want to be known for, and you want to make a list of all the places that have listicles. You want to figure out, how much traffic do they have? Is this like a directory? Is this a review site? Is this a listicle on a blog post? And then you want to start your outreach and your conversations and want to make sure that you're part of that. To reiterate, this helps because alignment helps to connect the dots between your website, social profiles, and features, especially with schema markup. It will allow you to claim your knowledge panel, and it also allows you to become a credible source. So for example, if I ask SGE if I should be working with Viola Eva for SEO consulting, we can see it pulls off my search engine journal author profile of our own website, but also the LinkedIn page to generate that answer. So if I can control what these websites are saying about me to a degree, I can control how SGE is going to talk about me. Now, the second side of the coin, now we talked a lot about AI is affecting search. Now I want to talk about how AI is affecting content marketing and content creation. Even now in March 2024, using AI content is not against Google search guidelines. Automation has long been used in publishing to create useful content. AI can assist with and generate useful content in exciting new ways. So this is not a matter of AI or not to use AI. It's a matter of how do we use AI? So here's what Google has said about the March algorithm update. They're using it to reduce unhelpful, unoriginal content on search and keep it at very low levels. So when I think about that I hear a lot about Google wants this, Google wants that, algorithm wants this, algorithm wants that. But I just wanted to give a quick reminder, why do we do content marketing to begin with? The goal of content marketing is to get remembered. And what I mean by that is whether you have a product or a service or a software to sell, you have a target audience. You have a total addressable market. These are all the people who could potentially profit from your solution. The thing is, only a small fraction of this market is currently actively buying. By actively buying, I mean these are people who are currently thinking about your product or your services. They might go to Google, to find vendors or do comparison. They might do evaluations. They might reach out to you. They are actively buying. And of course, you want to reach these people. This is when your bottom of funnel keywords or Google ads and all that stuff come in. But the ultimate goal of content marketing is to get remembered, because there's that huge part of your total addressable market that's not currently actively buying, but that could be actively buying in the future. Which means with SEO-driven content marketing, we may aim to make sales easier in the future. We want to create touch points with our ideal customers. And we want to build mental availability. Mental availability means that if you're a German and you're buying a new car, even before you did any research, you probably already know, I'm going to look at BMW or I'm going to look at Mercedes. You already know that. That is mental availability. These are the brands that immediately come to mind when someone becomes ready to buy. They're the initial consideration set. And if you want to have that mental availability, if you want to be part of that consideration set, they have to remember you. And so guess what? Who doesn't get remembered? It's the same AI spam content that everyone else already has. And so the goal of content marketing is getting remembered. And this is more and more important the higher the price point is. Because they're going to be, more thinking, there's more trust required, there's more decision makers. So the more expensive your product or service is, the more important this becomes. So Google wants AI content, doesn't want AI content, etc. Keep in mind when you're using AI and doing these things, ultimate goal of content marketing, you want to be remembered. And potentially, especially now, people might recognize your AI content, remember you for it, but not in the way you want it to. Same like I remember all those folks leaving AI comments on my LinkedIn. So what is it all about? What users want, what Google wants, is this idea, what they call people first content. Do you have a specific audience? Are you addressing their needs? Can you show first-hand experience and depth of knowledge on these topics? Are you bringing something new to the table? And that something new is an interesting one, because I think historically a common SEO strategy is, let's look on page one, let's look at what everyone else is doing, let's reverse engineer that, and then make it better and publish it too. And in reality, I think a lot of SEOs have forgotten that step of making it better. And a lot of SEO content became like, okay, this is on page one, this is what's winning, let's recreate the same thing. And that's not bringing an information gain to the table compared to the other articles. There's nothing new, there's nothing original you're adding to the conversation. So my suggestion is this: when we're creating content in 2024 and moving forward, we really want to be at the intersection of three things. We want to be we want to be there for your audience in the sense like, why do they search? What problem are they trying to solve? What are they looking for? What are the queries they're using? What is their search intent? What are they looking for? We do want to use AI to increase content output, meet ranking factors and all that, of course. But we cannot forget the brand, thought leadership, and our originality aspect. And I think that was forgotten a little bit with some of the 2023 SEO heist activities. So what do I mean by point of view originality? Here's one example from a client. Keyword, performance improvement plan. We used to have that article up, I think already for 2 years or so. And originally it was a very classic kind of like SEO play. It's like, what is a performance improvement plan? When to implement a performance improvement plan? Best practices for performance improvement plan? How to write a good performance improvement plan? And when you look on page one, everyone else basically had the same article. No one was questioning, no one was challenging it, no one was discussing whether performance improvement plans are actually a useful methodology to lead your employees. And so that didn't really align with my client and what they wanted to stand for. So in August 2023, we updated the piece and we took a lot of the SEO stuff out and we wrote an article saying performance improvement plans, why they don't work, and what to do instead. So first of all, that's a much more interesting headline to click on page one because it's something that stands out. And it's an angle that is memorable in that search landscape. And then it's an angle that allows us to do all the SEO things that we needed to do. We could still make it long. We could still use our keywords. And the workaround for that is also, we can say, hey, the traditional thinking about performance improvement plan is this. That's where the traditional thinking falls short. This is how you should think about it instead. And these are kind of like the leadership practice and methodologies that you want to be implementing. So we want experience, we want context, and we want opinion. I think historically SEO content has always been a little bit shy of opinion. And let me clarify what I mean by opinion. With opinion, I mean raw information alone is seldomly valuable. So what is a performance improvement plan is fine, but what's much more interesting is, hey, I'm a leader in the field. I've tried performance improvement plans. This has worked, this hasn't worked. And actually, here's 3 studies to back up why this hasn't worked. And here's a major corporation that shifted away from them, and this is how it works for them today. That expert interpretation is what turns fluff into insight. It also makes sure that you can stand out from your competitors, create mental availability again. But that doesn't mean you should just simply make up an opinion if you don't have it. You want to make sure that you can back up your opinion with data and evidence, use credibility, talk to subject matter experts. It's not about inventing an experience that you didn't have. So point of view is SEO in 2024. That's my thinking. We need originality, we need information gain, and we need new stuff. Google wants us to do new stuff. So originality can come from an original point of view. Sometimes that's a counter-narrative opinion, like the one with the performance improvement plan. Everyone wrote how to write one. We're like, don't even think about writing one. That's not the right thing to do. That's counter-narrative opinion. And you want to have real stories from subject matter experts, case studies, and industry reports. Users and search engine want information gain. But don't take my word for it. I thought what was very, very interesting in the last few months is that Ahrefs hired Ryan Law. If you're very much in the SEO space, I don't know that you know Ryan Law yet, but I'm in the content marketing space, so I know Ryan Law very, very well. He used to work at Animals, which is an agency for content marketing that is incredibly well known for their thought leadership work and their point of view articles. And this is what he used to write about interviewing subject matter experts, the 4 forces of bad content, where he talks about fluff and generic stuff, information gain, how to win in an area of infinite AI-generated content. So I'm saying point of view is the new SEO, and if you want to see it live and you want to see it in action, head over to Ahrefs, check out Ryan Law's author profile and the article he's doing and what he's doing there. He's been doing some very, very interesting plays, and he's been integrating them with his LinkedIn very, very smartly. So for example, when he writes an article about content briefing template, of course he gives a content briefing template and doesn't just write a 2,000 word article about it. Yay. But even more so, he got us 5 or 6 templates from 5 or 6 agencies that work in content marketing and content production all day, every day, and then give those templates and context and nuance to it. So if you want to see a major SEO doing content marketing on point of view extremely well right now, head to the Ahrefs blog, check out Ryan Law. So how do I think about writing in my agency? Is it a all no, or what do we do and not do? So I think there's a lot of awesome use cases for AI writing, and these are just some examples. Programmatic SEO, and by programmatic SEO I mean the real stuff, not the SEO heist I put up and 10,000 pages overnight. The real stuff is, for example, Zapier and all of their different integration pages, G2 and all their category pages. For a lot of our clients, that they're marketplaces and integrations places. If you think about some of the big platforms, marketplaces, they might have location pages, video venue in Berlin, YouTube studio in Berlin. Like all of these stuff, I think can be very, very interesting plays where you can use AI in a smart way. Glossaries, if we think about a glossary about an actual short thing, page titles, meta descriptions, video descriptions, landing page variations after you wrote a first one, that's great. Ad copy after you first wrote a first one, that's great. Outlines, first drafts, editing. Actually, I really love ChatGPT as an editor. So there's a lot of reasons why we can and should be playing with AI writing. Where I don't think that's super helpful is blog posts and articles that need a unique narrative or stand, thought leadership, or latest trends, because it ain't got it. You gotta figure these out yourself. Product or services pages, I typically think are a very poor choice too. So how can we mature our AI use into content marketing? Here's a few things that I'm currently thinking about. Number 1 is choosing software. I talk about ChatGPT a lot. There's obviously Gemini, Copilot, there's a lot of other ones. One thing I want you to think about is not just the quality of output it provides, but also the whole infrastructure around it. Now you can have a workspace in ChatGPT, so user management, billing. I think if you're in the more enterprise corporate context, all of these are going to have compliance issue for you in terms of like uploading your own documents. So maybe you want to look at something like Writer or installing a ChatGPT version locally. A lot more effort, but the more you feed into these tools, the better the answers get. And if you're not allowed to feed stuff into it, you're just not in a really good position. Constant considerations as well as accuracy concerns, obviously the content spinning same over and over again, and satisfying EAT, we just talked about experience a lot. Whilst ChatGPT is passing the medical and bar exam, it struggles to understand the human experience, and we will share the slides with the links. So there's 3 ways that I think about this to make this better and kind of like solve for this problem. Number 1 is just the way how you interact with these tools. So one way we found is it usually gets better and more important if you use one continuous chat per project instead of opening a new chat over and over again. You also want to overfeed it with information, like the goal of the task, the target audience, customer desire map, product offering, the channels. So that could be as easy as copy and pasting your product pages into ChatGPT, uploading them obviously, and you just really want to give it a lot of stuff. You want to be over prompting. If you're really writing content with AI, think about writing a prompt for each paragraph. Build, measure, learn. Progress leads to perfection. One way that has simplified this for us is consider building your own GPT, which means you could build yourself a little GPT in which you once upload all the relevant documents, the user personas, brand guidelines, vision, values, desire map. And then you can use that one as an editor, as an outline creator, kind of like endlessly. And obviously we feed it the Google Search Quality Rater guidelines, so you can check that out for us. Thirdly, when we kind of have this policy is when AI creates, humans edit and publish, and kind of like do not use that kind of like auto-publish kind of like function, because there is a lot of fluff, a lot of inaccuracies and hallucinating. And especially the repetition of some of this auto-generated stuff is driving me nuts. The other thing to think about when we're operationalizing content marketing is just reporting and data gaps. Reporting just got a whole lot more difficult. It's much more difficult to understand user intent because queries are long and different. It's hard to know if our content is really performing or not. Do we have good return on investment? Is this campaign working better than another campaign? And the reason why this is so hard is you can ask ChatGPT, hey, what is great time tracking software? And it tells you 3 guys here, T-sheets, clock shirts, exact time, time tracker. You ask Google, it tells you a bunch of other stuff, including timecamp, WT, toggle track. You ask Copilot, it tells you Clockify, Google, toggle track, inside folder. How do we track this? How do we make sure we hear? How do we make sure we know if people are seeing us and that we're part of that? Tracking just got a whole lot more messy. I've not been a fan of keyword rank tracking for a long time because a good page can rank for hundreds of keywords. And then if 3 of them are going up and 2 of them are going down, what does that really tell us? So for a long time, I've paid a lot more attention to impressions, clicks, and organic traffic and organic conversions to the pages, except for maybe my 5 top 10 evergreen most important keywords where I'm very particular around them. But for most of my content, I pay much more attention to impressions and clicks. So I think keyword rank tracking is pretty much dead in the way we know it because it just can't reflect these dimensions in the large language models and AI-powered search that I just showed you. Quick screenshot here from SparkToro. Rand Fishkin just released a really great study about what type of website sends how much traffic to the web. We can see for the long tail of the web. So these are all websites that are not the biggest 170. So your website, my client's website, your client's website, currently gets basically almost no traffic from OpenAI, but that will obviously radically change. There's a lot of forecasting as to how much search traffic these tools are going to take from Google. I don't know the answer. Is it 5, 10, 20, 50? But one thing is for sure, it's on the rising. And right now, we don't have a good methodology for tracking this yet. And the future is very, very blurry. I'm sure downstream this is going to be solved, but I think for the next 12 months, 24 months, it's very, very blurry. With that, from the same study from Rand Fishkin, I wanted to give the good news. Currently, Google is still by far the largest traffic referrer. When we talk about Google, we talk about Google Search, Google Mails, all these tools. It's leading way ahead in front of Microsoft and Bing, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit. But that doesn't mean that you should scrap all the other activities now and do SEO only, even though I love that. The thing is, Google is the one who sends all the traffic, at least today. But the social media platforms, the communities, etc., this is where people spend their time. This is where they discover what to search for. So don't neglect them now, and don't neglect that alignment and brand presence that connects your website to your activities in these channels. So here's what I see. I believe the future of SEO-driven content marketing is integrated into your overall marketing and sales strategy. It's not you just banging out a bunch of AI blog posts on the site. It also needs to be inherently human and focused on uniqueness, expertise, and story. You want to get remembered. You want to stand out. You want to become part of people's consideration set when they're ready to buy. For this, they need to remember you. And I also think that our expectations on content quality and content experience has actually been rising dramatically. We're over the spam content, the cheap content. We want the good stuff. We want detailed analysis, great design, unique design. So I think the future is experience-driven, high-quality content, or you might as well not do it or get wiped out by March 2024 algorithm update. If you don't believe me, think about yourself. Do you really Google for SEO information? Do you Google for SEO trends? Do you Google for how to change your SEO strategy to AI and search? Or are you here at this conference? Do you check IMG, Kyle Roof, or the other speakers and what they publish? That is brand. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Please say hello at Viola@Flow SEO. It's a real me, no robot answering. I love hearing from you. And I would love to understand what has been your experience with AI-generated content so far, either as a reader and consumer, or as a producer, or as a strategist that is trying to figure out how to make their team more productive. Thank you so much.